When it comes to housing, one of the most debated questions is whether it's better to rent or buy. The decision between renting and buying a home is a complex one, and there are numerous myths surrounding both options. These myths can cloud judgment and lead people to make decisions that may not be financially beneficial in the long run. In this video, we will break down the top 10 renting versus buying myths using real math to help you make an informed decision. Myth 1. Buying is always better than renting. A common myth is that buying a home is always better than renting, particularly when interest rates are low. While buying may seem like a good long-term investment, it doesn't always make sense financially in the short term, especially when you factor in all the costs associated with buying a home, such as down payments, closing costs, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. The math. Let's say you rent an apartment for $1,500 per month and plan to buy a home worth $300,000. With a 20% down payment, $60,000, and a 4% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage, your monthly payment, excluding taxes and insurance, could be around $1,400. However, when you factor in closing costs, approximately 3% of the home's value, or $9,000, in yearly property taxes and insurance, let's estimate $3,000 per year. The monthly cost of owning the home could quickly surpass $2,000, making renting more affordable in the short run. Myth 2. Renting is just throwing money away. Renting often gets a bad reputation for being money thrown away without building equity. While it's true that rent payments do not contribute to property ownership, renting offers flexibility and eliminates the ongoing costs associated with homeownership, such as maintenance, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. The math. Renting for $1,500 per month for 5 years totals $90,000. On the other hand, purchasing a $300,000 home with a 20% down payment, $60,000, would require $240,000 in financing. Over 5 years, you might pay down around $20,000 of principal on your mortgage, but you'd also face repair costs, property taxes, and insurance. Even if your property appreciates by 3% annually, the increase in value, $9,000 in 5 years, may not cover the ongoing costs of homeownership during that time. Renting may be a better option, depending on your long-term plans. Myth 3. You need a 20% down payment to buy a home. Another myth is that you need at least 20% for a down payment in order to purchase a home. While a 20% down payment is common, it is by no means a requirement. Many lenders offer programs that allow for much smaller down payments, especially for first-time buyers. The math. For a $300,000 home, a 20% down payment would be $60,000. However, with a 5% down payment, you would only need $15,000 to buy the same home. Over time, the difference in the down payment could be invested in other financial opportunities, such as stocks or bonds, which might yield higher returns. This makes it possible for many to purchase homes with less upfront capital, contrary to popular belief. Myth 4. Renting is always cheaper than buying. While renting can be cheaper than buying in some situations, the overall cost comparison depends on a variety of factors, such as your location, the housing market, and the length of time you plan to stay in the property. The math. Let's assume you're renting for $1,500 per month and paying $18,000 annually in rent. If you buy a home for $300,000 with a 4% mortgage rate, your monthly mortgage payment, excluding taxes, insurance, and maintenance, could be about $1,400. Over a 5-year period, you would pay $84,000 in rent compared to $84,000 in mortgage payments. However, after 5 years, you would have built up equity in the home, around $20,000 in principal, and possibly gained value through appreciation. In some markets, renting might indeed be cheaper than buying, but in others, buying can be more financially advantageous, especially if you plan to stay for several years. Myth 5. Your mortgage payment is just like rent. Many people believe that a mortgage payment is the same as paying rent. While both involve monthly payments, mortgage payments typically consist of 2 main components: principal, the loan amount, and interest. Over time, a larger portion of your mortgage payment goes toward paying down the principal, building your equity in the home. In contrast, rent payments do not contribute to ownership. The math. Suppose you purchase a $300,000 home with a 30-year mortgage at a 4% interest rate. In the first month, your mortgage payment might be around $1,400, with about $900 of that going toward interest and only $500 going toward the principal. Over the next few years, more of your payment will go toward the principal, increasing your equity. Rent payments, by contrast, don't contribute to any future ownership. As you pay down your mortgage, you're effectively building an asset, unlike renting where you gain no ownership interest. Myth 6. Homeownership is a guaranteed investment. Many people believe that buying a home is always a surefire way to grow wealth, but the housing market can fluctuate, and not all homes appreciate in value. In fact, there are several scenarios where homeownership may not lead to significant financial gains. The math. If you buy a $300,000 home and the market appreciates at an average rate of 3% per year, your home will be worth about $350,000 after 10 years. However, if the market declines or sees minimal growth, your home's value may stagnate or even drop. Additionally, when you factor in transaction costs, real estate commissions, taxes, and repairs, the true return on investment may be much lower than anticipated. In certain markets, renting may be a more financially sensible decision, especially if home values are not expected to rise significantly. Myth 7. Renters have no tax benefits. While homeowners can deduct mortgage interest and property taxes on their taxes, renters don't get these benefits. However, this doesn't mean renting is always a worse financial choice. In fact, renters may have other tax advantages or opportunities to invest their savings elsewhere. The math. If you're renting, you don't pay mortgage interest or property taxes, which means you won't be able to claim these deductions. However, renting allows you to save more money up front, which you could invest in stocks or retirement accounts. If those investments perform well, the returns could surpass any tax benefits you gain from homeownership. In some cases, renters who invest their savings may end up with better financial outcomes than homeowners. Myth 8. You'll always build equity faster with a 15-year mortgage. While a 15-year mortgage does allow you to build equity faster, it's not always the best option for everyone. The higher monthly payments associated with a 15-year mortgage can strain your budget, especially if you have other financial priorities or goals. The math. A $300,000 mortgage with a 30-year term at a 4% interest rate has a monthly payment of about $1,400. If you opt for a 15-year mortgage, the monthly payment increases to around $2,200. Over the life of the loan, the 15-year mortgage will save you thousands in interest, but the higher payments might not be sustainable for everyone. Renting for a few years, saving for a larger down payment, and investing in stocks or retirement plans could provide more flexibility and financial growth in some cases. Myth 9. Homeowners are always responsible for maintenance costs. While homeowners do bear the responsibility for maintenance and repairs, many renters face significant maintenance costs as well. Some rental agreements require tenants to cover minor repairs, like appliance repairs, or a portion of maintenance costs. The math. Homeowners typically pay for major repairs like replacing the roof or fixing plumbing, but renters often face costs for repairs that go beyond the landlord's responsibilities. If you're renting, you might have to pay for things like replacing a broken air conditioner or paying for damage you caused. On the other hand, while you have to budget for these costs as a homeowner, you also have control over when repairs are made and can plan your budget accordingly. Myth 10. Renting is only for short-term stays. Many people believe renting is only a viable option for those who plan to stay in one place for a short time. However, renting can be a long-term choice for some, particularly when compared to the financial commitments of homeownership. The math. Renting for $1,500 per month for 10 years totals $180,000. In contrast, purchasing a home for $300,000 with a 20% down payment requires $60,000 upfront, and over 10 years, the total mortgage payments, excluding taxes, insurance, and maintenance, may surpass $180,000. However, renters are not tied to the ongoing costs of homeownership and can relocate as needed without worrying about property appreciation or depreciation. The debate between renting and buying a home is filled with myths and assumptions. By understanding the real math behind the decision, You can make a more informed choice that aligns with your financial goals and lifestyle. While buying a home may make sense for some, renting offers flexibility and fewer financial risks for others. The key is to evaluate your personal situation, financial health, and long-term plans before making a decision. By busting these common myths, you can choose the option that's truly best for you, financially and emotionally.